Hello, welcome to Going Native with me, Neil Stokes. This is the interview series where I talk to Catalan people, but in English. And today my guest is Joan Basket. He's an actor in musical theatre. Welcome to the show, Joan.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So today we're going to talk all about musical theatre. We're going to talk about your career in that, and there's lots to talk about. But first, so that people know, people watching know exactly who you are, and so who is Joan Basket? Can you give us a quick summary?
I ask myself that every day.
It's a good question to start the day with, I think. Yeah, especially if you're looking in a mirror.
Totally.
I think, no?
Totally. I do shows. I basically do music theatre, and I've been doing that for a while now, like 20 years. And basically that's what I love to do, act and sing.
So how did you, why musical theatre? What was the thing that got you into that rather than other types of theatre?
I loved music since I was a child. I began playing the piano and studying music, and then I discovered theatre. And then I discovered music theatre. So I loved music, and I saw that in that kind of theatre you could combine every possible art. So that was like really attractive to me. Mm-hmm. And then I saw Blood Brothers in Barcelona in 1992, I think. And that was like a breakthrough. It was like, I want to do what these people do. Because they can do theatre, but they do it singing. So everything, you know, came up with something very
So it's combining two things you loved.
Totally. It was like perfect unison to be able to do two things I loved.
And to go right back, just the idea of performing, was that something that was very clear in your mind as a young boy, for example, or did it come along later? Because some people are sort of seen born with it, no? Mm-hmm. With other people, it's like, I don't know, they go one day, they see it, think, oh, this is great, or whatever.
To me, it came with something very early. Like, I was like 6, 7 years old, and I remember myself, you know, at Christmas dinners, playing shows to my family.
Okay.
You know, singing.
That's where it begins, no? On Christmas,
totally.
In front of the family?
But it was like, I really felt that that's what I wanted to do. And then I did, you know, the school plays, as usual. And also, I felt like it was like a very confident atmosphere to me. So, I think it was pretty set in my mind from the beginning.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, it's great to see. It's always great to see somebody who's followed their vocation and stuff, because so many of us put our dreams to one side and for the sake of something else, and I always love to see it when people have gone through and made a success of it. So anyway, so tell us a little bit, when you very first got into musical theatre, so you saw a good example of it and you thought, this is what I want to do. How did you then make the transition from it being a desire, something you wanted to do, and to actually doing it? What happened?
It was very fast, almost scary, and then I decided, okay, I have to take it. I went to London, I think I was 16, and I went to see shows because I wanted to, you know, begin training. And then I saw Rent in London with the American cast, and it blew me away. I thought it was an amazing experience. And then I got back to Barcelona, and I was finishing the bachillerato, that's how we call it here. And then I read that there were going to be auditions for the Spanish production in Rent beginning in Barcelona when I was 17 years old. And I thought, why not? Because I had done, you know, some singing lessons, and I had trained a little bit, not professionally yet. But I was so inspired, I decided to go to the auditions. And you know, it was 1999, not those many people trained yet, as now. Now young generations are like really trained and very qualified. I got there, I sang, the American director liked what I did, and so she cast me as one of the ensemble parts. And that's how it began.
It sounds very simple.
It was shockingly simple. Yeah. So now it's proving harder to me than then.
Wow.
You know, have to audition more, and you know, more competition now in this world in music theatre now.
And so where did that lead to then? So you give us a little bit of a summary of what happened over the next few years as you got more into the business and began to master it a little bit. So
yeah, once I got my first job, then it was easier to audition for other musicals, and it went pretty well. So I got like one job after the other. And then because I decided I wanted to do what I really wanted to do, I began working with repertoire companies in which I could do the projects that maybe weren't that commercial, but through which I could express myself a bit more, doing what I really liked. So I began on working with El Musical Més Petit, which is a Catalan-based theatre company, which does shows. And then I did things with Gataro, which is another cabaret company here. So I began to explore the kind of, I don't know how you call it, off kind of theaters and shows. And then I did some other blockbusters as well, so I kept combining both things.
Right.
And in the past 3 years, I decided to do my own solo show. And that was like a new experience to me as well.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, because you've it's a tribute to Stephen Sondheim, the great US composer and lyricist, and I was going to ask why Sondheim, but it's obvious, you know. He's the greatest, you know, as far as musical theatre is concerned. Tell us a little bit about how that came into your mind and how you prepared for that and so on.
I had played the piano since I was a kid, but I was a bit self-conscious with piano.
Sorry, just to make so people have got it clear. We'll see a little bit of you performing later, but the Sondheim tribute is you.
It's a one-man show.
At the piano. Playing Sondheim songs.
I play and sing and act the songs.
Sorry. Yeah, just wanted people to have a clear idea of what was happening here.
Thanks for that, because it's such a challenge to me that I do the 3 things, and I wanted to play the piano in front of the audience that was used to see me perform in shows, because I was a bit self-conscious of playing, and I thought, why? I've studied a lot, I can do it, I want to show that part. So I just decided I was going to do it, and I began, trying to look for repertoire that would sound good on the piano and my voice. And then I thought, okay, what's my favorite? And it was Sondheim, so I thought, why not? Let's try that. And I began doing it. It kind of flowed, so I decided I was going to do a tribute to him.
Yeah.
He's my favorite because his words are like beyond. The way he plays with words is amazing. And the music is very special. Once you get to know him better, you appreciate him more, because it's a bit complicated. But it seduced me so much that I couldn't help just by doing that show.
And how did you prepare for it then? How did you make the selection of the songs? How long did it take you to put it all together? Did you look for help on that, or was it a totally one-man project? How did it work?
It's just myself, but once I had done everything, I had rehearsed it at home and blah, blah, I decided to invite a few very intimate friends who know me a lot as a performer, so they could give me some notes on what they thought was going to be better, or it was good enough. I did it for a month at home. I made the selection thinking about the audience. Like, if I was a Sondheim fan, I would like, to have a little bit of everything of all his shows.
Yeah.
And then also for a person who doesn't know Sondheim, to make it attractive enough, so there are lots of different kind of rhythms and patterns. So
that's important, isn't it? Because there could well be people watching who are not so familiar.
Who don't know him, so it would also sound appealing to them. And then I just selected something more jazzy, something like very classical, something more speechy, something more lyrical. And I also include things from almost all his shows: Sweeney Todd, Into the Woods, Passion, and Company. Company has a lot of presence because it's one of my favorite shows.
Right.
And also Robert is one of my favorite characters. So once I made the selection, I just kind of played with the arrangements, because he usually writes very orchestrally. So there's not an arrangement for piano. So I kind of improvised and made it my own. And I began like doing run-throughs at home, like, one song after the other for a month. And then it was prepared, so I opened it after that.
And was it an easy sell to theatres? Were they when you suggested, did they jump at it? I would imagine they would be interested quite. It's an interesting project.
It was very. It was very attractive to people. I was surprised. I thought it was going to be harder. In Barcelona, it's been produced a lot Sondheim. I think after London and New York, it's one of the cities in the world in which more productions of Sondheim have been set. So people know him a lot, and people like that they were going to see a show in which lots of his songs were performed. So it went well here. I decided to take it to Madrid. They loved it there as well. And then once they take it abroad, it was very easy to sell to theaters, because people there love Sondheim and know him very much. So what was harder was for me, a person that was coming to London or New York for the first time to perform, to really, attract the audience to come see it, see me.
Yeah, both being big centres of theatre and musical theatre as well.
Lots of competition, but it went very well.
But yeah, tell us a little bit about that experience of performing in London and New York. I mean, you can't get much bigger than that, can you?
Well, no.
There's nowhere else to go after those two places.
No,
the West End and Broadway. That's it. It ends here.
If they told me like 2 years ago, I wouldn't have believed it. I just decided that I wanted to do it, and I just knocked on the door. And because I was doing Sondheim, and they love Sondheim very much, I think it was like a perfect introduction. So London was the first step, and it was a big gig because it was Live at Citadel. It's Piccadilly Circus. They attract like lots of different people from England. It was like 200 seats. I got a very good review, so that encouraged me. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to try and bring it to Broadway. And New York was a huge step as well, because there, lots of competition. It's hard to sell. They've got, 20 shows on Broadway. They sell quite well. So from going to a Broadway show or decide to go to see, a Spanish guy perform sometime, there are like different options. So that was the hardest challenge to me, which, went successfully. And I performed at what they call the Broadway living room, because it's where kind of the Broadway stars go to do their solo concerts. It's called 54 Below. It's right below the Studio 54, the legendary one at 54th Street. And it's a cellar. It's very beautiful. It's very warm. People are having dinners or cocktails where you perform, but they're really attentive, and they really showed me a lot of appreciation for what I was doing.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, so the response was well. And what about among the critics and stuff? Was the response good there too? Because they can sometimes be difficult when they want to be, the critics.
Totally. And also, I was like, I'm this Spanish guy who's going to perform, sometime. I felt I was like reading the Bible to Jesus. It was like, okay. But I don't know, most of them, they didn't know if I was a Spanish guy because of the accent. They really couldn't tell if I was British or if I was like somewhere from America.
Well, especially in the States where people very often have Latin surnames, it's not unusual for...
Totally. So I think they focused more on the material and my performance than on my persona. So I think that made them appreciate the work more than beginning to think, okay, where is this person from, or how did he got here?
Yeah.
And they responded very well. And then I did another gig because the one first was very good, so they programmed me at another cabaret venue in New York, which I did 2 months ago. So it's been like a great experience with the show. I couldn't have imagined I've gotten to those places with it.
Sounds great. What is the... I'm sure people ask you this all the time, but what is the attraction of musicals? Because I love them too, because I actually grew up with watching musicals. I'm not musical at all, and it's normally wouldn't be my type of thing. And yet I love them because I grew up... my grandmother used to watch... They used to be on in British television in the afternoons, on Sunday afternoon. Every Sunday be My Fair Lady. There'll be sort of, all of these things. They're classics, no? And I used to sit there with her and watch them. So I watched all of the musicals as I was growing up, and I've always had a fondness for them. But what's the attraction for people? Because they still pack out theatre, big theatres.
They sell well.
I mean, in Barcelona at the moment, there's seems to be a real resurgence in the last few years. There's been big productions and so on. What's the attraction after all of this time? In the 21st century, we've got tablets. Now we don't need to go to the theatre, and yet people still go. They spend good money. Why is that?
I think the live factor is important. It's something that happens live, and we're so used, to listen to things recorded or TV. So there is a nice component of sitting there and someone is performing for you alone today, and it's happening now, and it's not going to be recorded. It's like, so that's a nice factor, I think. And the other thing is I think we look for emotions when we go to theater. And if you go to a play, the emotions are like at this level. When music intervenes, emotions like raise up to here. So I think music makes us feel more. One sentence can change your life, but if it's sung exponentially, it gets like really, really touching. It
makes it more accessible as well, no? Because theatre can sometimes be a little bit intellectual. And then the same play put to music suddenly.
It's more popular.
Yeah, everyone's sort of more open to it because we all understand music. We all
think so.
Speak that language to one extent or another. No?
Totally.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. And what are you doing? You're doing at the moment. You're doing Paquito Forever at the Almeria.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that, because I was reading up about that, and it said that's a true story.
It's a true story. This is a flamenco dancer who died 3 years ago and was born in the 40s in Barcelona. So he began working at Paralelo, the big avenue, where lots of cabarets and theaters were active then, more than now, I think. And he wanted to become a part of that. So he began in cabarets there, and also as a flamenco dancer in ballets. So he's very lively, a very charming person who then began, touring around Spain with ballets, and then went to Madrid, Galicia, Valencia, did the usual stuff. But with one ballet, he went to New York, and there is an anecdote in which, because the tour was cancelled in New York, he was supposed to open at Radio City Music Hall, but it was cancelled. He had to get back, but then I thought, no, I want to stay here until I make it here. So he exchanged his...
well, like the line says, if I make it here, I can make it anywhere.
Anywhere.
Yeah, okay.
Totally.
Yeah.
So he exchanged his plane fare to get back. He told the company manager, if you don't have to pay me the ticket fare to get back, would you give me, I don't know, the costumes, my costumes at the ballet? And the company manager said yes. So he stood there with lots of dresses so he could begin performing there in New York. And he set up a company, a dance company, and he began to make a living there.
Okay.
And he established himself there. So he lived in between Barcelona and New York in between the 1950s and the year 2000.
Right.
So he got back here in the 90s and was cast in Flor de Nit, which was a musical, a Catalan musical from Dago i Dagom. They cast him in, he was doing kind of a character that was his alter ego. It was like the same thing as his person, a flamenco dancer who worked at Paralelo, who was very lively and charming. And that's how I met him, because I played his part in the revival of that show when we made it here in Barcelona. And then I got so astonished with his life that I wanted to play, homage to that character who had, toured the world with this kind of projects.
It's an interesting story. Well, we should see a little bit of from the show, so people can get an idea of what it's like. I think they'll show it in a moment, and then afterwards you can comment a little bit, tell us what was happening there.
Perfect. Sounds great.
¿Quién cose esos uniformes? Ay, señora, ¿quién diseña esos patrones? Dime quién, la costurera que ensalza ciertos dones. No es de este mundo, ni es hombre ni es mujer. ¿Quién ciñe de esa manera, esa mechera? ¿Quién terza saber de gati con tesor? Costurera del diablo encendedora. Tus agujas van pinchando mi razón. Tuya es la culpa, modita. Fue tu manera, tu forma, tu que sé. Sangre por tus ojos no se boca. Por esas penas malas yo pegué. No digo si por hecho o por palabra. No digo si pegué por visión. Me toca pecho teniente, ay madre que calor. Que la luz y la sisa, mi teniente.
There we go. So tell us what's happening here then, Joan.
This is Paquito at his 20s, and he was a homosexual, but of course he lived the dictatorship.
I bet they didn't like homosexuals, I imagine, the dictatorship very much,
He couldn't live openly,
Yeah.
so it was forbidden by law, so he had to take care of what he did. And in this song, he explains that he fell in love with a lieutenant, but so not to express that it was him falling in love for him, he says that it was the costume, you call it sewer?
Sewer, yeah,
sewer.
the seamstress or whatever, the person
That
making
kind of made an enchantment for him to fall in love with the lieutenant. So it's kind of a comic number.
That's good. That's good fun. Yeah, you can see how you're enjoying. It looks like you're enjoying every moment of it, no?
I do.
But it's the problem with this type of theatre, though. I imagine is if it's a day when you're just not in the mood, you've got to smile and seem. Is that? It must make it hard to go to work on those days.
Yeah, it makes you have to be positive every day.
Yeah.
And to remember how lucky we are for doing this thing that we love to do and for having a profession we love. So it's, even on your bluest day, you can go and do, okay, there's people here, I love this show, I have to defend it to them. And if you don't have a good day, then when you finish the show, you suddenly feel a lot better.
Yeah, of course, it cheers you up. No, I think that's a good point you make, no, is that I often, because I sometimes, talk to musicians and artists on this program, and I often ask them, what made you, take the risk of becoming an artist when there was no financial security and compared to other things you could have done. But maybe another way to look at it is the way you're saying there, is that this is a real privilege to be able. There's lots of people who would love to be able to do this, but they're too scared, or their circumstances don't allow them, and so they just work in an office. But you get paid to do this, and that for you is a privilege, I guess.
It is a privilege. We do what we love, and also we see that we kind of make people feel better or make people think. So that's very interesting. I wouldn't change it for anything, I think.
Yeah. You were made for that, to do this. So what about, because you're still a relatively young man, is there anything that's, because I mean, the world of musicals is enormous, is huge, and particularly when you can, like you are here, take one thing and transform it into another thing, there's that potential as well. Have you got any sort of ambitious projects or anything that you one day you would like to do this or you would like to do that, or do you just sort of take every day as it comes?
Yeah, I love to think about the next step, because this Paquito, we just decided we were going to do it this January, so it came up like really fast, and we wrote it from scratch. The music didn't exist. His life was a real story, so we did a script based on his life, but the script wasn't existing as well, so we kind of worked on that quite fast, and I've been so immersed in that now I'm just enjoying performing. I'm not thinking about what I'm going to do next, but I'm sure that when we finish this week, because it's still 1 week to go, lots of projects will pop up. Yeah. I want to keep doing, explaining the stories. I really think they're good and can change people's lives and the way people look at things. And also I want to explore new kinds of music. I have not yet composed any song of my own, and it's something people ask me to do. Wouldn't you, do your own songs? And I want to have the time to explore that, so probably I will, leave some time aside for that in the next 6 months, because I just want to explore. I've been a lyricist before, but not a composer and a lyricist, so I will try to explore and see what comes out of it.
Well, it's one of the interesting things about this industry, is that it really does allow for you to explore other areas, actors becoming directors, or script writers or songwriters and so on, and backwards and forth. And when in other industries it's sometimes harder to be able to do that.
Totally.
But once you've got a bit of experience like you have, and you can then start to sort of explore different. Because I mean, the other thing about musicals as well is that, I mean, you associate it with theatre, but then there's also a long tradition of film musicals as well. Even up till now, we've had Mamma Mia and La La Land in recent years, and going all the way back, West Side Story in the past. I mean, all these great musicals from the past. So there's a very, very strong tradition of movies, musicals, not just in the theatre itself, the live performance. Is that something as well you would be interested in, I guess?
I would love to. There's been a production of La Llamada, which is a Spanish musical that was very successful in Madrid, and they turned it into a movie. It's now in the cinemas. And it's a good example, as you said, of a show turned into a movie. So yeah, why not? If the industry was big enough, I would love to try that as well here. I'm also very excited about taking my things abroad, because with Sondheim, I've been, as we said before, to the places I really admire in the world for this kind of thing. And when I was preparing Paquito, I was in New York as well, because I was doing my Sondheim concert, and I was already, learning my music and my lines, and I began talking about the project to people there, and they said, oh, is it about a flamenco dancer? Does it have, flamenco influences in the music? And I said, yes. Oh, this could be really good. We really like this kind of music. So, either in New York or London, they appreciate the Spanish culture very much, musically and artistically. So I think one of my targets now is I want to take Paquito to the same kind of circuit that I took the Sondheim tribute as well. So this is also another thing I want to devote time once I finish the performances here in Barcelona.
Great. Well, the best of luck with that. And
Thank you so much.
thank you very much again for coming on the programme.
It was a
And
pleasure.
People should check. I was checking you out online yesterday. People should look you up, and hopefully go and see your show.
Yes, why
while it's still on. If not, they'll have to go to London or something to see it, won't they? If you take it abroad. Anyway, Joan, thank you very much for coming on, and the best of luck.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. This was Going Native with me, Neil Stokes. I'll see you next week.